We are kicking off today with SmackDown, and Solo Sikoa remains in charge of the new bloodline, despite losing to Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam and Roman Reigns going against him. On SmackDown, Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu were set to defend the WWE Tag Team titles against the Street Profits, but this match underwent a major change. In a big moment, Sikoa ordered Fatu to hand over the tag team title to Tonga Loa, who would defend the title instead, and Fatu handed the gold over before hugging his tribal chief. While it appears to be a Freebird rule type of system, how this was positioned seemed like Jacob Fatu was vacating the title, and Solo said that Jacob would be his enforcer/bodyguard. Fatu helped eliminate Roman Reigns last week, and despite Solo's leadership, the Samoan Werewolf has had a massive impact in his 2 months with WWE. To many, Jacob Fatu is among the best that the Anoa'i family has ever produced, and the WWE Universe is quickly seeing that come to fruition. Loa and Tonga retained their titles against the Profits in a match that had some good spots, but never felt like much of a competitive fight. Post-match, the Bloodline attacked Ford and Dawkins, and while DIY attempted to make the rescue, the numbers game proved too much to handle. In the end, Solo Sikoa hit the Samoan spike on Ciampa and Gargano to send a message, and it'll be interesting to see if DIY get their rematch against Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. Fans will remember that Fatu replaced Tonga Loa to win the gauntlet match and then dethroned DIY, and it's clear their story isn't over yet. But why did Fatu seemingly vacate the gold to Tonga Loa this week? Well, it could have been a test by Solo Sikoa of the loyalty of the Samoan Werewolf. Having Fatu hand over the gold at the request of Solo shows that the belt does not mean as much as Jacob's blind devotion to his tribal chief, and Fatu passed this test with flying colors. From a non-kayfabe perspective, taking the title off Fatu works with the group's logistics, as Tama and Loa are a natural tag team, while Fatu is now free to compete in the singles division. Perhaps we'll see Fatu go after US champion LA Knight next, while Solo Sikoa remains fixed on capturing the undisputed WWE title held by Cody Rhodes. On SmackDown, Sikoa said once Kevin Owens is finished, he intends to bring the undisputed WWE title back to the Bloodline in a strong claim by the tribal chief. The question now, though, is whether Roman Reigns will have a role to play in these plans, as the original tribal chief was nowhere to be seen this week. The most successful factions often had multiple champions at the same time, including the Judgment Day, the Four Horsemen, Evolution, and the Bloodline. Will Sikoa's new bloodline be next? It's possible given what we've seen from the faction already, and let us know if you think that more gold is in their future. Since winning the WWE Undisputed title at WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes has proven himself to be a relentless and determined champion and hasn't shied away from any challenger. On this week's SmackDown, Rhodes' tenacity put him on a collision path with Grayson Waller, and in the process, AEW's Chris Jericho had a cameo on WWE's Blue brand. SmackDown opened with the Grayson Waller effect, wasting no time in setting the stage for their confrontation, as Rhodes was fed up with the Aussie icon's incessant arrogance. Waller was intent on bursting Cody's bubble, going as far as to warn him against trusting Kevin Owens, the man Rhodes has been teaming with and who he'll face at Bash in Berlin. Waller produced a highlight reel of Owens betraying allies, including the infamous turn on Chris Jericho during 2017's Festival of Friendship. Interestingly, WWE not only featured Jericho in the package, but also displayed his name, a notable shift from their usual treatment of former talent who have moved on to rival promotions. Owens emerged to address the situation and justified most of his past betrayals, with the exception of Kofi Kingston in 2019, which he said he still regrets. Nick Aldis followed, announcing a tag team match for later in the evening, pitting A-Town Down Under against Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. That match saw Rhodes and Owens get the win over the heels in the show's main event, with Owens delivering a devastating pop-up powerbomb to get the 3. There was a very interesting point after Owens and Rhodes defeated Waller in theory, when Owens picked up the title and rushed towards Cody, seemingly ready to strike the champion. The prizefighter seemingly had a change of heart halfway through and just handed the title to his friend before shouting a warning at A-Town Down Under. Owens may not have attacked Rhodes on this occasion, but the seeds were sown for what feels like an inevitable heel turn for the Canadian in due time. As for Chris Jericho, it remains to be seen if he ever makes a return to WWE, as he seems happy in AEW right now, and it's good that Triple H hasn't barred him from previously aired clips. Were you surprised to see Chris Jericho make a cameo appearance on this week's SmackDown? Do you think a return could ever happen? Let us know your thoughts down below. We're looking ahead to WrestleMania 41 now, as though the show remains close to 8 months away, plans are reportedly already coming together. As you'd expect, WWE has plans for Seth Rollins to compete at WrestleMania 41, and his match could see him finally lock horns with CM Punk. On Twitter, the WRKD Wrestling News account shared a photo of a stare-down with Punk and Rollins and suggested that this match will take place at the two-night Super Show in April of 2025. Punk and Rollins have been at odds even before Punk's return, with Rollins calling the AEW alum a cancer during a media appearance ahead of the 2023 Royal Rumble. The pair were expected to face off at WrestleMania 40 prior to Punk's injury, and who do you hope to see triumph if they finally lock horns next year? Sound off below. Santos Escobar challenged US champion LA Knight, but before the match, the megastar got into a brawl with Angel and Berto at ringside, and the heels were ejected by the ref. Elektra Lopez was also sent packing after she tried to argue with the ref, and even though he wasn't 100%, Knight retained his title after hitting Escobar with the BFT. Angel tried to apologize to Escobar during a backstage segment after the match, but he was told that there was nothing he could say that was going to make up for what happened. The tension backstage was palpable as Escobar told Angel he's of no use if he isn't out there with him, and Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews showed up to laugh at the faction. Santos challenged them to a match for next week's SmackDown in Berlin, and LA Knight will also be in action next week as he threw out an open challenge for his title for SmackDown. Do you think Jacob Fatu should answer the challenge and defeat LA Knight? Or is there a better approach and another direction WWE should go in? Let us know below. Right now, WWE has several plans in motion, and each champion needs a worthy challenger. Just ask Bron Breakker, who is still riding high as Intercontinental Champion. Recently, it was announced that a tournament will begin on next week's Raw, one that will decide Breakker's next challenger, and we now know more about WWE's plans. PWN reports that the winner of the tournament will face Breakker at WWE Bad Blood, which will take place at Atlanta's State Farm Arena. This seemingly means that Breakker will not be defending the gold at Bash in Berlin next weekend, which will come as a disappointment to fans heading to the German PLE. The Intercontinental title has been up for grabs at all 3 previous Bad Blood events, but has only seen a new champion be crowned one time, and Breakker plans on keeping it that way. Breakker will eventually need a new challenger, but it appears he'll have to wait, and he may not be in any rush, especially after his win over Sami Zayn at SummerSlam. But who do you want to see challenge Breakker at WWE Bad Blood this October, and why? Give your pick for the second generation star's next challenger down below. The last time fans saw Alexa Bliss compete, it was in January 2023, and while the goddess has since given birth, she has yet to make a return to WWE programming. While recent training videos have shown her preparing for an in-ring return, there haven't been many concrete hints about when she might reappear until this week. On Twitter, Bliss stirred up some excitement among fans by sharing a gif of Taylor Swift with the caption, "Are you ready for it?" which many fans saw as a reference to her return to WWE. As of now, it's unclear when the former champion will officially return to WWE programming, but expect a massive reaction to the petite powerhouse when we see her on TV again. Are you ready for Alexa Bliss's return to WWE? How should it happen? Let us know what you think in the comments section. More from SmackDown as the fans in Washington, D.C. were treated to a series of dark matches after the show, including Drew McIntyre taking on a man he's had issues with, Jey Uso. McIntyre was bombarded with CM Punk chants, much to the Scottish Warrior's frustration, and Jey said that if he wanted the fans to stop chanting Punk's name, Drew needed to yeet with him. In a moment that nearly saw McIntyre break character, Drew nearly obliged, but kicked Jey in the stomach and stomped on Jey's yeet sunglasses for good measure. Despite these post-match antics, Jey got the win over McIntyre, which, if you include their encounters both on and off TV, marks Drew's 7th loss to Jey in 4 months. This was another tough loss for McIntyre, but a big win for Jey, whose theme song played for 10 minutes after the match, as the fans couldn't get enough of him. While Jey was clearly over at SmackDown, he isn't booked for Bash in Berlin. And do you think WWE is properly capitalizing on the massive popularity of main event Jey? Another dark match at SmackDown saw Liv Morgan take on Kairi Sane, but the Women's World Champion decided mid-match that she wanted none of the Pirate Princess. At one point, Liv decided to leave the match and headed backstage with a big smile, but Kairi chased her and caught up with her in the gorilla position. Sane forcefully brought the Women's World Champion back, much to the delight of the fans, but in the end, it was Morgan who got the win over the Damage Control member. Sane and Morgan shared the ring in a tag team match after a recent edition of SmackDown, and that bout saw Sane and Braun Strowman defeat Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. With Sane and Morgan sharing the ring a lot lately, one has to wonder if WWE is testing the water for a televised feud, one that'd see Kairi in line for a shot at the Women's World title. In April of this year, Raj Desi, also known to fans as Jinder Mahal, was released from WWE, but that may have come as something of a relief to the former world champion. During his final WWE stint, Desi was told that he no longer was an active wrestler, and instead he was reassigned as a manager for Indus Sher, a decision made under Triple H's leadership. Appearing on Talk is Jericho, Desi reflected on his WWE run, both under Vince McMahon and Triple H, and though he didn't directly criticize the game, he said he did more under McMahon. Relationship-wise, confidence-wise, trust-wise, trust is a big thing with Vince. He really trusted me a lot after that, being WWE champion in any situation, not just like main events, but also in anything he would put me in, like some comedy skits, the 24/7 championship with R-Truth. I won the United States Championship at WrestleMania 34, that was a cool moment. With Vince, I was always on the show. I might not be in a top spot, I might be putting someone over, but I was always on all the time. I was on live events year-round. I was booked a lot when Vince was in charge. From being booked a lot under McMahon to being told he wouldn't wrestle again under Triple H, it's not hard to see why Desi would prefer one leading name in WWE to another. Since his release, Desi has transitioned to the Indies and has won gold in Black Label Pro and AAA and has shown no signs of slowing down. Time will tell what Raj Desi does next, but what's your opinion on his WWE run? Do you think Triple H had valid reasons for not booking him prominently? Give your thoughts below. Next year, AEW will host its All In event in Arlington, Texas, marking AEW's first stadium show in the US, but fans in London, England will seemingly still get an AEW event after all. In promotion graphics outside Wembley Park, a banner was revealed that Forbidden Door will take place in London in 2025, though a venue for the show has not been named. In addition to this show, AEW All In will return to London in 2026 as confirmed by Tony Khan, so fans in the UK will have their fix of All Elite talent as well as New Japan stars soon enough. Are you excited at the prospect of AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling putting on an event in London? What matches are you hoping to see? Let us know down below. Recently, it was reported by Fightful Select that Ricochet has signed a multi-year deal with AEW and is traveling to London, where it's believed he'll be part of All In. During an interview with TalkSport, Will Ospreay spoke about his iconic match with Ricochet in New Japan, saying, "It changed my perspective of wrestling and how others viewed him." Ospreay emphasized that Ricochet has been downplayed for too long and believes it's time for him to shine once again, and made it clear that, "I'm calling you out, bruv." Ospreay already has a huge match for All In, as he'll take on last year's main eventer MJF, and one has to wonder if this is a match that Ricochet will be watching very closely. Do you think a rematch between Ospreay and Ricochet will happen in AEW? And if so, will it match the incredible encounter the two had all those years ago? Do you think, given their evolving styles and experiences, that Ospreay and Ricochet may even make an even more spectacular encounter? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Now, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire have proven to be strong WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, but they'll have to defend those titles at Bash in Berlin against another dominant duo. During a pre-show announcement before SmackDown, General Manager Nick Aldis announced that Dawn and Fire will defend their titles against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Before then, though, the challengers teamed with Naomi on SmackDown to get the win over the champions and their ally, Blair Davenport. One of the downsides of a match like this is that it can be difficult for everyone to get enough time in the ring, and Belair got isolated for a long time in this contest. Naomi got in the offense and the pinfall at the end, meaning that it felt like Jade Cargill, who WWE has always promoted as a top-tier signing, being seemingly lost in the shuffle. Having Naomi, Belair, and Cargill wear Simone Biles-inspired attires was a cool touch, but it's hard to ignore how out of place the former AEW TBS champion felt in this contest. A vignette aired on SmackDown for Michin as she mentioned how people have constantly tried to limit her throughout her career and said Nia Jax is trying to limit her progress. Michin ended the vignette by threatening to slaughter Jax at Bash in Berlin, showing a different side to Mia Yim, who has indeed had Jax's number as of late. Now it remains to be seen if she can overcome Nia Jax at Bash in Berlin, and what role Tiffany Stratton will play, either to help Jax or with her own title aspirations in mind. And we're ending with Becky Lynch, as after her May 27th Raw loss to Liv Morgan, the man parted ways with WWE when her contract expired, and now she's been removed from the WWE banner. On the banner for the Superstars section of WWE.com, Lynch has been replaced by Nia Jax, and she isn't the only edit made to the banner. Finn Balor has taken Logan Paul's spot, Gunther has replaced Sami Zayn, Obafemi is filling in for Ilya Dragunov, and Tiffany Stratton has stepped in for Thea Hale on the banner.